I was not really astounded, but somewhat surprised that he's never held a public office. Yay! That could possibly be a great attribute. He is a successful businessman in the advertising field. He's married with an 8-year-old boy. And at this time, I'd like to welcome and introduce Ray McBerry to speak to you.
Good to be with you, and it is the truth. I've never held public office before. Our family's been involved in local and regional politics down on the south side of Atlanta for several generations, and I've been very active, but never have been an office holder. I'm a daddy and I'm a businessman, but never have held office. But I do hold to those same strong traditional values that I believe is what made America great, and I believe it's what's going to make Georgia great once again too. I'm Ray McBerry, and you've already heard someone talking about another candidate running for Secretary of State who has a Scottish name, and as you might have guessed, McBerry is a Scotch-Irish name too. And I would dare say probably of many of the people in this room, you probably have a lot of Scotch-Irish in this room too. But it's good to be here. I'm a native Georgian, and over the last 4 months, I've made a lot of new friends up here in Cherokee County. I jokingly told somebody the other day, or I don't know how jokingly, but that if I ever decide to move from where I am, way down in middle Georgia, I think Cherokee County would be the first choice for us because we've got so many friends up here now. I think over the last 4 months, we've probably grown our campaign here in Cherokee County more than any other county in the state in the Ray McBerry campaign for governor. A lot of that is owing to the hard work of John Blank, who is our campaign director here in Cherokee County. So, John, thank you for the hard work. And I know there's a whole team of McBerry supporters spread throughout the room that have been working very hard for us up here. And so I thank all of you that have been working very hard for us up here. As of about 3 weeks ago, we made the announcement that our campaign in the governor's race is by far the largest campaign organization of any candidate running for governor, either Republican or Democrat. We now have more than 250 coordinators across the state of this campaign, and somewhere in the neighborhood of about 800 volunteers on the ground already after only 4 months' time of building this campaign. And I'll tell you that part of that is because I'm not an elected official, but I do hold to those same strong traditional conservative values that I think Georgians are looking for strong conservative leadership in the next governor. As I already said, I believe that the biggest problem we have in Georgia and in Cherokee County today is that there's too much of Washington in Atlanta and too much of Atlanta in the rest of the state running our business and trying to tell us how to live our lives and trying to tax us into prosperity. And I believe that the single best thing that any governor could do for the people of Georgia would be to get government out of your lives so that you can get on with finding your own pursuit of happiness. Because the truth of the matter is the people of Georgia are very hardworking, very industrious, and very ingenious people. And no matter how deep a hole Washington has dug for us, if they'll get out of the way, the people of Georgia have the ability to dig our way back out of it and get back on top. And so I think the governor's responsibility is to get government out of your way so that you can get on with the pursuit of happiness. I am a Christian. I accepted the Lord as my Savior when I was a little boy. Certainly haven't been all of what the Lord wanted me to be along the way, but I have tried to serve Him. I'm a Christian. I'm a daddy. I do have a little boy that's about 8 years old, and my greatest fear as a daddy, and the thing that moves me and drives me every single day, is the thought that I would be dead and gone without having done my job to restore life and liberty to the people of Georgia, and that I would leave that little 8-year-old boy to have to grow up and fight that battle without his daddy. And so if you have children or if you have grandchildren, I hope you feel the same passionate way in your soul that it is our responsibility to fight this battle now to restore life and liberty to the people of Georgia. We should not leave that battle to be fought to our children and our grandchildren. It is our fault that we're in the situation we are today, and we owe them nothing less than spending every ounce of life and breath in our bodies to restore that liberty to them and give it back to them as they grow up to become free men and women. Before I went into business for myself, producing radio and television commercials, I was a history teacher for about 10 years. I taught at both the high school and later the college level too, and I understand the roots from whence we've come. I have a strong sense of understanding not only as Americans but as Georgians of where we've come from, what made this country great, what made this state a great sovereign state, and what we need to do in order to get back to that is return to those founding principles that the Founding Fathers had in 1776. And I am, as I said, one of those traditional conservatives that believes in those values. I am also a states' rights Republican. In fact, I had told someone just recently I'm really the only states' rights candidate in this race for governor. Some of my opponents in this race, states' rights came on the national scene as a story in the news. But the truth of the matter is, I've been speaking across the country for the last 10 years on the subject of the 10th Amendment and states' rights as a solution to rein in an out-of-control federal government. Ray McBerry is not a newcomer to talking about states' rights and state sovereignty. I am the only candidate in this race for governor who understands the principle of states' rights, understands the mechanisms that can be employed by a governor to achieve state sovereignty once again as envisioned by the Founding Fathers, and I am the only candidate who is willing to stand up to Washington and defend that state sovereignty against an out-of-control federal government. I want you to know that standing for states' rights is not something new for me. As I said, I've been speaking on the subject across America for the last 10 years. And I believe with all of my heart that the final constitutional solution to restoring our liberties and reining in an out-of-control federal government is states' rights and state sovereignty. I am very excited to announce that as of Monday, when we put out the press release, the Ray McBerry campaign for governor will show the state of Georgia that not only do we talk about states' rights, we are going to lead the way in restoring state sovereignty to the people of Georgia. We will be introducing over the next 8 to 10 weeks 8 different bills that are already going to be sponsored and introduced into the Georgia General Assembly in January. All 8 bills are state sovereignty bills that address some area of federal intrusion into your lives. So I want you to know, even before you elect us to be your governor, we are right now leading the way in states' rights and state sovereignty here in Georgia. And when you see these 8 bills roll out in the General Assembly, you're going to be excited. You're going to be excited. It's going to make what little bit Alaska and Montana and Texas have said to look like nothing. So get behind the legislation. You have some very conservative members of the House and Senate up this way. You need to make sure that they're on board with these state sovereignty bills so that when they come to the House and then move to the Senate, that they move right on through as quickly as possible with no hang-ups from the Democrats trying to stall them out or the neocons in the Republican Party trying to stall them out. You need to make sure that these bills go through so that we can restore state sovereignty to the people of Georgia. You know, there are 6 candidates in this race. It's a very crowded field because there's no incumbent. But there are some differences between myself and my opponents in this race. I want to go on record today as saying that, as far as I know, every one of